Our world is in disarray. Many of you have realized lately how flawed your perception of reality has been, your ideas about science, history, politics, or religion. You have glimpsed the naked emperor, the wizard behind the curtain. Some of you might not know what to do with these realizations, but you know you can't go back. Once you have seen the control system in place on this planet and how it distorts, lies, and manipulates you for its own purposes, you can never unsee it. So where do you go from there? What else doesn't add up in this crazy reality? While science and the scientific method are of course noble endeavors, the power brokers at the helm of organized science have ignored true science on key questions that affect us all. Instead, they have used authority, coercion, shaming, smear campaigns and sophistry to cover up the contradictions in their narratives and shut out the voices of those brave scientists who actually did adhere to sound reasoning and evidence. A prime example, and perhaps the most important to learn about, is the doctrine of materialism and Darwinism. You may remember the famous US court case about whether alternatives to Darwinism should be taught at school. You may also remember how the media framed the opponents of Darwinism. Supposedly they were crazy right-wingers who are against science. Does this sound familiar? Yes, the same smears have been applied to those questioning the media-amplified establishment orthodoxy for a long time. What is materialism? It is the absurd belief that for some unknown reason a universe sprang into existence that consists exclusively of dead matter with no intelligence whatsoever. That by some unknown process, dead matter randomly floating around somehow created the spectacularly complex DNA replication mechanism on Earth. That this replication mechanism somehow acquired a goal to maximize its own copies. How a goal such as survival or maximizing offspring even makes sense in a dead matter universe, of course, remains a mystery. That via a process of strictly random mutation and natural selection alone, somehow the DNA became humans, that eventually we developed consciousness, again by random processes. But why we should do so remains a mystery too, since in a materialist universe, our consciousness is merely a byproduct and cannot do anything, and therefore cannot provide an advantage. Well, if that story sounds ridiculous, it is because it is. You know it. Don't be discouraged by the trolls and their mental gymnastics to justify this absurd worldview. Because contrary to what you may have heard from the establishment echo chamber, this frankly crazy conception of the world has been debunked again and again, both by philosophy and science. Even Karl Popper, for many the poster boy of rationalism and the scientific method, mounted a devastating attack against materialism. And contrary to popular belief, the materialist conception of reality is in no way scientifically proven. It is nothing more than a dogma, an entrenched assumption, a belief system, and full of contradictions. If you are not convinced, read the literature and come to your own conclusions. But most importantly, materialism is a belief system that severely limits our perception and impoverishes our lives. It holds us in constant fear of death, implicitly denies all meaning to life, denies the very possibility of higher realities. Coupled with Darwinism, it promotes the opposite of uplifting values. It reduces life to a ruthless struggle for survival and maximization of offspring. Because these principles, according to Darwinism, have created life, they are the gods that materialism worships. So what's the alternative? Famous physicist and pioneer in quantum physics, Werner Heisenberg, conceptualized the world as consisting of different layers of order: classical physics, chemistry, organic life, consciousness, symbols, and creative forces. He realized that you cannot get from one layer to the next by random processes or automatically. There is an information input required. Something more needs to happen than random processes. In that way, he was right. For example, once you look at Darwinism rationally, you will realize that random mutation and natural selection can only account for very, very small variations, and that only under very specific circumstances. In no way can this primitive mechanism explain the stunning complexity of interdependent, interlocked and highly sophisticated systems that make up biological life. To get from molecules to life and from primitive life to complex life, you need information input, a blueprint, if you will. Random mutations, by definition, simply cannot create information. They cannot build systems that need many different interlocking parts in order to function, not least because non-functional parts cannot provide an evolutionary advantage in the Darwinian world. In other words, information is the key ingredient in our universe, not dead matter. Information is what bridges the gaps between the different layers of reality. You may ask, if the world is made of information instead of dead matter, why can't we see it? We can. It is just that we have never been taught how. Just as our minds have been tampered with so that we believe in irrational and wrong theories, our emotions have been tampered with to make us blind, keep us in a constant state of fear and chaos, and make us run away from our most important lessons. Information is everywhere. It is in the world events that unfold before our eyes. These might teach us about the nature of good and evil. They might teach us the truth by reflecting back to us what works for us and what doesn't. They might teach us what it means to respect free will and the choices others are making. They might teach us about the different stages of true evolution, that is, conscious spiritual development. Information is in the incredibly ordered and fine-tuned natural world. Information is also in our personal past, in all the dramas we have participated in, how we have reacted to other people at the different stages in our life, where we have screwed up, where we have hurt others, where we have been hurt ourselves. It is for us to unlock the information from our past, from our environment, and from world events. You might ask, if there are different levels of existence that are bridged by information, what is our bridge to the level above us? A higher reality, a higher level of being? Perhaps our most important way of bridging that gap is via our emotions. These too carry information. They tell us something about the cosmos and ourselves. They can guide us. However, we all have been rendered impotent emotionally. We judge ourselves for our emotions. We want to get rid of them, or we ignore what we perceive as negative emotions and instead are seeking eternal bliss. But just as moments of happiness cannot be forced and are best seen as a gift, emotional bliss cannot be forced either. It is always a byproduct of spiritual development and achievement. What we need to learn, then, is to extract information from all our feelings. The first step is to truly experience, truly feel those emotions instead of running away from them. We need to disconnect them from our thoughts and concepts and just feel them. Once we stay with them for a while, information can begin to flow. Our past then acquires a deep meaning instead of making us feel ashamed or sad or prone to dissociation. But feeling your way through these emotions to perceive the information is a painful process. You must be willing to feel the pain and see it as your greatest asset for bridging the gap to a higher reality. Just as it is with working out, you must train your information reading muscle until your system can handle ever more information. It may always be painful, just as a good workout is always a bit painful no matter how advanced you are. But you will be rewarded with moments of bliss and wonder and clarity. Remember that the cosmos is about balance. You can never force development or force emotions or hold on to a certain state of being for too long. Instead, you allow new things into your system. How far can you get? Very far. When you practice perceiving and extracting the information that is all around you, especially while engaging your emotions, you learn to discern between lower and higher emotions. Lower emotions are those that limit you and lock you out of the higher world. These limiting emotions are irrational fears, jealousy, greed, or craving an easy fix. The wish to dominate others, to force your own way on others, or the wish to punish others for their achievements. Higher emotions, on the other hand, are those that lead to infinite possibilities. They give you a feeling of connectedness, of subtle guidance, of a higher purpose. They allow you to perceive yourself and your multiple identities from a bird's eye view. They have a distinct quality. They feel finer, lighter, and fill your whole being. They might manifest as a tingling on your palms, as an energy buildup in your solar plexus, but also as deep emotional turmoil. The reason those higher feelings are not always nice or comfortable is that you are not used to deal with these fine energies, to deal with unfiltered truth. You can only handle so much. Again, the trick is to accept and feel the uncomfortable sensations. Give it all you got. See where they lead you. While in such a state, ask yourself, what do these feelings try to tell you? What should you do with them? Is there something they want you to realize or to achieve? If you allow yourself to feel them with courage and stay with them, no matter what unpleasant memories, thoughts, or sensations they might bring up, you might get an answer. Indeed, it might be an answer that changes your life. Be aware, though, that not everything that is higher is good. Just as our planet is currently in the clutches of nefarious forces, so are parts of the higher world. When you achieve an emotional connection, make an effort to keep all lower emotions such as greed, jealousy, or craving an easy fix out and focus on sincere love, truth, beauty, and the sincere wish for the well-being of others. Remember that we are all in this together. You have the choice. Do you want to blindly suffer as the world plunges further into chaos, as new information keeps pouring into your reality? Or do you want to use this as a springboard towards true understanding, towards higher emotions and truth? It is time for us to reclaim our sanity, to reclaim our life.